Gravy, not just another Sheffield Wednesday podcast. I'm one of the hosts, Richard Miller, and my co-host, he's been working away in the lab with a pen and a pad trying to get this damn episode off. Dr. Luke Gledall. How are you doing today, Luke?
I'm good. How are you today, Rich?
I'm good. I think we should disclose to folks we're doing something a bit different. We can see each other for the first time. You're normally in a little...
I'm in my little sorrow cubby hole behind me. Yeah, I have this whisper room I've set up in, which is where it really cushions the sound of my sorrow and sighs. I'm out here in the open. So when you hear me, we won't be sighing much today. I really hope not, apart from maybe in the news section. But it gets a bit echoey when I'm out here. So I do apologize for that. But the joy of this is I get to see Richard Miller's face.
And I get to see Luke Gledall, so it's all different. Normally Luke is squirreled away in his grief cupboard, his glory hole, whatever you want to call it. He's normally there, and rather than
my dickless glory hole. apart from me, I am the dick in that one. So I guess, and I have a dick. Yeah, it's very complex. Charlie Kaufman's writing something about it. Trust me.
Shall we move along to the news section?
Let's do that. Breaking hoo-hoos.
Is somebody being murdered in your house, Luke?
I think so, yeah. I think it's probably some rats in the walls just bashing each other with pipes.
Those city rats that everyone hears about.
Yeah, of course there are no rats in Alberta, unfortunately. So they're just massive mouses, massive mice, mices.
This is a new experience. But that's quite breaking news, isn't it? That if there's some sort of crime happening around your property, but Sheffield Wednesday wise, getting specific. I mean, they're two slightly odd topics we've pulled out here, but first off was Gary Monk participating in a long form article about managerial burnout, but the sort of juicy tidbits from a Wednesday point of view were that he said that his one mistake.
It's like I live next to a mill or something. What is this?
Have you checked the glory hole to see that somebody else isn't in there making use of the facilities?
In case there's a Victorian robot just cranking off in there or something.
I mean, we expected to get more room, but this is really taking the biscuit.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of beautiful. You can just close your eyes and imagine them and some mill on the floss. Trouble at mill on floss.
Trouble at mill. Well, what did you make of Gary Coy-Gaz's uncoy statement that the one mistake in his managerial career was taking up the Wednesday job?
It kind of, I don't like the weird thing with it is like it doesn't surprise me. It feels like it should surprise me, but it doesn't surprise me.
Well, I suppose it's we've all got to think of reasons to pick ourselves up each fresh day, and I think you do see that most kind of transparently in sport, and I think individual sport you see it even more so. And to an extent, being a manager is kind of an individual sport. It's at the end of the day, you're the one with sole responsibility for those results. The players, we do say, it's the players' fault or whatever, but generally managers get plaudits when teams win. They get criticised when teams lose.
The problem is that I think with these things is we get a little bit, and then we get the chance and the opportunity, as we're doing now, to read into this like everybody does. We will never know to the true cost of everything exactly what went on. You know, I'd like to know. I'd love to read Gary Monk's diaries. during that time. I'd love it if
We
it
might
kept.
get a new.
I'd love it if
We might
more
get.
football managers did that, kept like a series of diaries, like a mix between
Well,
like Adrian Mole and like like the captain's log on a ship or something.
that would be fun.
It would.
Have you ever heard of Ben tapes?
What tapes?
It's like Tony Benn did. He did an audio diary. It's been sort of serialized on Radio 4, but you get him doing his voice. I haven't prepared this in advance, but it's quite an okay impression, I think. But it's just him kind of like, so he's reporting in, he's like, Mrs. Thatcher did such and such. So he's like going through all the different periods of his life. It's really fascinating to listen to. Highly recommended. But I mean, Gary Monk did his kind of tease titled autobiography where everybody thought he was probably going to come out as gay with his loud, proud, and positive autobiography. So maybe we're just waiting on Loud, Proud, and Positive Part 2. This time I really do come out. But what I was sort of saying in terms of that individual sports person mentality is the answer can never be that I wasn't good enough.
Yes.
As an individual sports person. So it can't be that the other guy is better than me. It has to be an excuse. It has to be, it was an off day. I wasn't prepared properly. I was wearing the wrong underpants. Do you know, like it has to be something tangible that you can point out rather than, it can't be that job was too big for me or I failed there. It's got to be, do you know what? That was, it was just a mistake from the outset. Why did I do that? Stupid Gaz, I said to myself every day as I beat my head repeatedly against the wall. It wasn't, I mean, it was a mistake. It was a mistake from both sides. He didn't live up to.
But like, I always feel. I don't know. I always feel like I want to kind of agree and think that there's some great vision to a manager. And in my opinion, it didn't work for this reason. Like, there's obviously bad situations, and there's, we're never going to get him put his hands up and say, "Look, I'm completely out of my depth here," or my talents aren't going to come out with any great monk juice that's going to turn the Sheffield Wednesday team around. But like in that case, when someone said it was a mistake, it usually kind of thinks like I wasn't supported in the role to do my vision. Maybe I naturally kind of think of it that way.
That's normally the story, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we'd like to. I mean, that's sort of the most fascinating bit of the Monk. Well, our great unknowns that we would love to fill in the gap on are what happened after Christmas. We were a team that were third on Boxing Day and then barely won a game for the rest of that season. So what happened there? I know Fletcher was part of it. We had a whole system built around Stephen Fletcher, and without Stephen Fletcher, things didn't work as well.
But we were there thinking, Jack Skeleton's not back for Nightmare After Christmas, is he?
Exactly. But then the other thing that you'd love to have an insight in is the summer. Was how many choices were Gary Monk's in terms of those signings?
Sorry, I was just like, you want to think about the summer. What were the barbecues like? How many rainy days were there?
I mean, obviously, he overfilled the hot dog and the roll split, and it was a disaster. But what led him to that? Why did he think he could ladle on the sweet corn relish after he already had onions?
What is it? This is even bigger disaster than Marcus Tudgate's barbecues. Like, what's going on here?
But as you say, was there a plan that he wasn't allowed to follow through with? Yeah. I mean, you look at it was baffling. Almost all of our signings were weird in one way or another last summer. And it hasn't worked. So yeah, it would be nice to get a bit more insight. But I suppose it's just intriguing to hear, already so quickly he's calling that period of his life a mistake and wanting to move on from it.
The non-disclosure has expired, so he can disclose that it was a bad idea.
Exactly. The other bit of news was the under-23s and a reasonably strong under-23s team were absolutely handed their asses by Sheffield United in a derby for the ages. It's a bit embarrassing. I don't tend to care very much about under-23s football, but it doesn't speak very highly that these are the guys that we're hoping potentially can drop in and turn games for us.
Yeah, I mean, the Pigs had a couple of strong players. I mean, they played Mousse and Lowe, I think they played, who's varying shades of first-team football. Obviously they typically have a very promising academy. The fact that we went in with... Who did we play here? We played Izzy Brown, we played Kachunga. There's a few other people as well. And, did absolutely nothing to... ripple the back of the Piggies' net. It's pretty astonishing. Let alone before the fact we get into Izzy Brown picking up a red card as well.
I mean, what do we say about Izzy Brown at this stage, really?
Yeah.
Well, we had Hunt, Penny, Galvin, who's been in and around, Izzy Brown, Harris, and Kachunga. So sort of more than half the team there is first team or first team periphery members.
Disappointing. I think that's all we can say, isn't it?
This is one thing I noticed, and I don't know whether this is why he was so angry, but the hairband from Izzy Brown now. Now, let's most men experience some hair loss. That's a fact of life. There's no judgment in this. I think what we can judge is the kind of desperate measures that people go to kind of pretend this is not happening or act to the world like this is not happening. And it appears very much that hairband from Izzy Brown is disguising the fact that the hairline goes up very, very high now. And in his sort of picture of his sort of sending off, there was just a hairband was here, and then there was a visible gap of sort of forehead or five head, I guess in this case. I just want to say, Izzy, it's fooling no one. Let's grow up a little. Let's just accept that life is happening. You're getting older. And a sign of your maturity is maybe stop pretending that hair's not going a long, long way back there with that silly kind of hairband. That's my message to Izzy Brown, really, on his sending off in the under-23s game. We're not fooled anymore, is he?
Won't be fooled again, is he?
Oh, a lovely song, which brings us on to, Luke, our main subject for today.
So I thought this would be really fun. The other week, actually, I'll just kind of give a bit of background here there's a little bit of context to what we're going to do today. I have been doing the old VPN and have been fooling my Amazon Fire TV to thinking I'm many places in the world, like Carmen, San Diego. But I only ever really go to a GameStop in Seattle, Washington, and some undisclosed location. I think it was maybe an old house in Sheffield. So really, really exotic locale. So by doing this anyway, I managed to get, for some reason I couldn't get a lot of the UK ones, but I did get the UK TV Play app, which I've kind of been enjoying watching. Just reminding myself, like, even crap UK television is still good light years ahead of the television that we have here in Canada. Really, it's basically Canadian television right now, and pretty much at the weekend as we speak, is pretty much treading water until hockey comes on, or some variant of the Olympics that I didn't realize was on. But
do you know they have one for every season?
What? Did they have a?
I think I have made that up.
Did they have a cream egg season Olympics? I want to be in that one.
Yeah, that's in the spring.
Because I've been in training for the cream egg Olympics pretty hard.
All your life.
All my life. So
he was born ready to smash cream eggs into his mouth.
I'm just doing the Rocky thing where I just crack them into a glass and eat them raw.
And just
Anyway.
Easter eggs as well, smashing through Easter
Exactly.
instead of the hunks of meat. Sorry, we digress.
So one of the shows I was watching on there was one of the many kind of list talking head shows, and it was something like the top 47 best and worst football songs, or best of the worst football songs. This was something which made me quite irate. I did get some enjoyment of looking back at, the beautiful world of, the cup final song, that was kind of big in the 80s and pushing into the 90s, because we all know that the beginning of the 90s was still a continuation of the 80s. This is how decades work. Things don't magically change on the stroke of 1st of January 1990 or 2000 or so on. But it also made me think about some of the Sheffield Wednesday songs. And looking into this, I decided the other day, I thought it'd be a good idea that what we could do is we could go back and review some of the Sheffield Wednesday songs. And what we're going to do today is we're going to get onto our main course, which is going to be reviewing, I'm going to be playing some short clips of Sheffield Wednesday, We Are the Owls. So this was a compilation release on Cherry Red Records. Remember them back from, our mates at Wickham?
Yeah.
In 1997. I'll just do a little bit of a pop quiz here for you, Rich. Do you have any ideas what the label release code was going to be for this? I think it's football. It's very stoically English football. What would be an English football term? You had. I'll give you a hint. The hint's going to be Tetley Tea.
Tetley Tea. I'm blanking. I'm really sorry.
Okay. It is CD Gaffer 22.
Oh, lovely stuff.
Lovely. So apparently I think they had like a big release. They had like a whole host of different football clubs, kind of compilations of songs. So it's an interesting thing here. Looking at this, there's some things that we'll get into. Released in 97. There's some stuff which we know is done before. There's some stuff which I think is probably done around the time. I'll also give you let's just kind of briefly go through the liner notes as well. This is the description. As Sheffield Wednesday usher in a new cosmopolitan era, a chance for their fans to pay tribute to the team. Martin Ware, Heaven 17 the Human League, takes centre stage with 3 tracks and the sleeve notes, but he is ably supported by Paul Carrick from Mike and Mechanics and the Thompson twins, who join the squad to sing We Are the Owls. Finally includes one of the greatest football-related songs, a version of the Ottawan classic DISCO, given the Sheffield Wednesday treatment by Doc's Chocks and the Ice Cream Men, with the sublime vocal skills of Euro superstar Paolo Di Canio featured. 14 tracks, Cherry Red, and then I think there's a note saying 2005, but I think it was out in 1997 initially as well, so it might have been a reissue. Really heartbreaking for us getting into this, and we'll kind of do this a bit later as well. It's available for stream right now, but it only has 8 of the 14 songs, and the six that you are missing are real corkers and things that I really, really really love. So it's disappointing. So I want to kind of do this as a little bit of maybe weird kind of promotion for something that's out of print. I'm sure you can go off and stream those 8 tracks. If you can go and find the CD, I think that's what I'm going to do after this. After we've done this, I'm going to go get that. We're just going to play some short clips. I try not to see if we get sued on this podcast. But anyway, so that's going to be the main course of today's podcast. The appetizer that's going to kind of warm us up. I've reached out to a couple of our friends in the excellent Sheffield Wednesday podcasting community, and they've agreed to very kindly, maybe slightly kind of reservedly, agree to let us play a few of their songs. So first up, I'm going to kind of talk about looking way back I haven't listened for a long time to the Wednesday Week, but that was one which kind of I remember very much being in the throes of the promotion season of the 2011-2012 season. They've been going for like at least 10, 11 years at this point. As a slight kind of a weird aside, I would say, is the funny thing is I'm very aware that like a lot of the personnel from that time have left and are no longer on the podcast. And I didn't kind of understand it. But now Rich and I are at the point of nearly doing 2 years of this. And I kind of get it now. I kind of realize it, you know? It's,
I think people can sense our boundless enthusiasm, and they know that you're joking when you say that.
Anyway, so much great appreciation goes out to all those people and the people who are doing it now, but especially like I reached out to someone who's been very vocal and very kind of positive and supportive of this podcast. That's Lord Hillsborough himself, whose Twitter account is very great and does some many great things. And we never on the podcast ever said or gave great thanks to the GIF he did of Air I Author at the beginning of this season, which was really, really magical. So that meant a lot to us. So want to thank him a great deal. Reached out to him. He was very, very supportive. So I want to play a couple of tracks from the Wednesday week. The first one I'm going to play is the Stephen Bywater song, which I remember at one point actually passing on to Rich and saying, listen to this. And he was a bit like, what have you made me listen to here? So anyway, without any further ado, the Wednesday week song about Stephen Bywater.
When you're one-on-one, feeling tall, when the goal's in your sights, and you think you scored, then out he glides. Oh, he's seen your blood. And then the Wednesday sings, you'll never beat Stevie Bywater, no matter how you try, never beat Stevie Bywater, he will lay you out. He will lay you
Just beautiful, lovely take on Arne Garfunkel's "Bridge Over Troubled Water," and I love the way that how pronouncing about Stevie Bywater. That is fantastic. Some great enunciation on that one, and the refrain of that "He will lay you out" is something that is fantastic and something I do genuinely believe would happen as well.
Famously, he was going to be a. He said he wanted to be a cage fighter after his football career was over, Steve Bywater. So yeah, more than enough room for truth. But lovely memories of Stephen Bywater, is spoken about more than most underutilized goalkeeping options through the years on this podcast. And as you say, the majesty of Bridge Over Troubled Water tied to that memory. It's lovely.
Brilliant. You would believe someone who said they would be a cage fighter after they decided to eat some rice pudding with a toothbrush?
Yes. That's the best that Twitter has ever been. That was the peak of Twitter. It should have just finished.
That's true.
Steve Bywater in his car eating rice pudding with the toothbrush. That should have been it, really.
Anyway, that is very excellent. So that's one of the ones I want to play. The other one we're going to get onto here is this is a video dedicated to Barry Bannon, and we'll get onto the song in a second. The thing that kind of breaks my heart was when he's contacting Lord Hillsborough about this. So they did like a really good video compilation of when we signed Bannon, And just remembering really peak Barry Bannon when he joined Sheffield Wednesday, just how electric he was. It's so different to think he's the same player in a weird way.
Yeah.
It feels like his Sheffield Wednesday career has been a very long paper round in terms of his prowess now. Anyway, let's get into it here. So this is a song for Barry Bannon.
Carlos got a call saying, have you heard? Bannon is up for transfer from Palace.
Towards Bannon! Yes!
So he rushed to speak with Mr. Chancery. He said, we need this fella in our team. And just a few weeks later, Bazza arrived. Oh, Villa didn't want him, Palace let him go. They must have had their reasons, but now they're thinking, no! 'Cause for 16 years we've been looking for a player like Bannon. Bannon, Barry Chuffin Bannon. Watch him play the ball, he'll put you in a trance. On more than one occasion, I think I've wet my pants. 'Cause for 16 years we've been looking for a player like Bannon. Bannon, Barry Chuffin Bannon.
Excellent. And now, unfortunately, maybe more times we're saying Barry Chuffing Bannon, a more kind of negative take. But absolutely beautiful just to think about how great it was when... Do you remember that period of signing Bannon and thinking, like, why are we signing another centre mid?
Yes.
And then he played and it's like, oh, that's why we signed another centre mid.
I do remember, that lasted all of one game. It's interesting with... it's a lovely song, as I say, the video really makes it as well because it's all these wonderful highlights of the early years of Bannon. But it's an interesting thing with Bannon, like because under Carlos he did sometimes play a wing position, which maybe forced him further up the field. He is. I don't know. The more he's at the business end of things, the more he's involved in good things, but whether it's just legs or whatever reason, he's dropped further and further back during his time with us. Anyway,
absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much, Lord Hillsborough,
thank you so much
for coming through and agreeing to share those with us. So I'm very, very grateful. A couple of shout outs as well. I remember us from the Wednesday week as well. Around the time, Eddie, who was on there, did a song on the first season of Carvajal, and it was about Semedo. Do you remember this? And it's Enrique Iglesias' hero.
Oh, nice.
So I can be Semedo, baby. I can take away the pain. He said the final line is the best one, which is "You can pick me for Wolves away," which remember we did because it was the game that we had, and it was just like everyone's tired. We got up to the playoffs. Let's play Jose Semedo now, because at that point it was purely Italy. And also contains the immortal line of "What if I told you Ronaldo's my best friend?" which is something he often comes out of. So that was fantastic as well.
Lovely.
Yeah. So moving on from that, I want to kind of bring ourselves across to North American border and give some great thanks to our friends at the Owls Americast. So I reached out to them and mentioned a couple of songs that I really enjoyed that they did from the podcast that they do. And when I initially reached out and mentioned the first one, which is Jeffrey Paternostro, host of the Owls Americast, the beautifully NPR voiced baseball writing behemoth that hosts the Owls Americast, kind of got back to us and said, "Yeah, that hasn't aged well." And the reason why, folks, is because it was January 2018. Sheffield Wednesday had been languishing with Carlos Carvajal after two top six push failed seasons, and Wednesday had sacked him and hired Jos Lukai. So Jeffrey Paternostro was winding back to Limmy's Song of the Summer with Get Lukai.
Like the legend of the Wednesday, it always ends in moaning and keeps the couple groaning. Relegation needs postponing. We're such a bore. The top 6 seems so far. So fix the back 4 and sell off a big star. Yes, up all night, just get one. I'm up all night for good fun. Yes, up all night, make them run. I'm up all night to get Lahuke. We're up all night, just get one. We're up all night to get some. We're up all night, make them run. We're up all night to get Lahuke. We're up all night to get Lahuke. We're up all night to get Lahuke. We're up all night to get Lahuke.
Just beautiful. I love the somber solitary piano take on that classic, and it really captured the mood of. I felt like Carlos Carvajal has started to disappoint us, and that's kind of desperate need for the bit of rough that came into our Sheffield Wednesday romantic lives in Ross Lukai. So I agree, Jeffrey, and thank you so much for being kind enough to let us play that. But it is hilarious. It's very funny. It's very well done, and it probably captures some of that. As we said, the Wednesday simplex virus that we all have is that we do get excited when managers get hired, even when we later find out they're a bit crap.
We've got to live in hope, haven't we? I think it's not aged too badly, because it's one of those songs where maybe the words are happy, but the tone is quite somber. So the overall feeling coming away from it, because obviously the original Get Lucky is a kind of, it's an orgasmic jig about in your pants number. This is much slower and contemplative, and I think fitting for the Lahukai rain, that the slow, ponderous football that we would come to play under the mustachioed man. I think it's quite fitting.
There was some period as well of like it looking okay under Yoss, right? Oh, yeah. I mean, the end of that season, it was kind of, that was the Zhao and Nuyu igniting their footballing talents on the pitch in the hunt for they were up all night to get a contract.
Yeah. And presumably Lahukai was announced at like 3 a.m, like most important announcements around the club tend to happen once everybody's done.
So depending on where you were in the world, it was really up all night to get Lahukai.
Yeah, on the nose, yeah. It's
just very, very accurate. So, yeah, thank you very much for that, Jeffrey. The other one I'm going to focus on as well is this is done by Ohio Owl, Evan Skilleter. Happy birthday, Evan. It was your birthday this week. I'm disappointed you didn't get any recognition from the club and from your favorite player, Liam Palmer, for this day. But, hopefully that'll change and this will be on. And this was capturing, I think it was around the end of that season. It was a game that we had. It was away at Hull. And I believe we won through Jordan Rhodes. Jordan Rhodes scored an incredibly rare header. Do you remember this one, Rich?
Yeah. Well, I mean, every single Jordan Rhodes goal, pretty much you can remember, because there have not been many of them.
Anyway, let's get into this one here.
Luke playing with a new toy, by the way.
A few times a week I take a trip, grab a fireball. For 2 hours I sip while the Wednesday play some football on my TV. When one Saturday we were playing at Hall, they'd been promoted once but took quite the fall. This really wasn't a match I was excited for. Rhodesy scored his first goal since December. This really wasn't a season to remember. Then something happened that really caught my eye. The ball went out for a corner kick. The focus moved to midfield. Thought the cameraman was shit, but to my surprise, he found himself a squirrel. Not sure how we got there, not sure why. The lads were laughing and the lassies cried, and that squirrel took off, running down the pitch. That boy was fast with no intention to yield. He had way more pace than Jacob Butterfield, and it was way more entertainment than we'd seen all season long. That day the squirrel went on a run in the KCOM Stadium in that shitty little town we call Hall, England. It was a fight for survival with an old promotion rival. Our season was saved and we sang hallelujah.
Absolutely genius. I love that one so much. I think it really sums up the joy of watching dour Sheffield Wednesday football, being far removed through coverage through a camera in a different continent. So it really speaks to me on a number of different levels. You know, especially the line that, you know, they thought the cameraman was shit, but in this case they found himself a squirrel. But I mean, there's plenty of occasions where we do actually think the cameraman is shit, because they usually are.
Yeah, exactly. There are plenty of occasions where the cameraman is just terrible, so it's not even thinking it's happening. So yeah, no, that's it's a treat. What a treat of a song. No notes. There's nothing to criticize there.
No notes.
It's just...
No, well, I don't look to criticize any of these. I'm very.
No.
We're getting the criticism on for the professionals that we get into on the We Are the Owls compilation. Speaking of a great lack of professionalism, we thought we would just be very self-serving and round this out with a couple of tidbits that we've given to the world. So first of all, I mean, I don't know who this guy is, but you know, somehow through my connections with the podcast, I managed to find this guy called Lukey Pump, who did. It's a bit like, I guess, like the SoundCloud world of Lil Pump, and he did Gucci Gang. But he did this one about Andy Knew You, and it's Addy Gang.
Addy Gang. Woo! Brr. Yeah. Lukey Pump. Yeah. Addy Gang. Ooh. Ooh. Addy Gang, Addy Gang, Addy Gang, Addy Gang, Addy Gang, Addy Gang, Addy Gang. Got a lot of love for the big man. Even take the time to press his full name. Ooh, yep, I love Big Dave's ever lame. Watch him take the big chance, take the blame. Should suffer Kosovo, it's a shame. Addy Gang, Addy Gang, Addy Gang. Addy Gang, Addy Gang, Addy Gang, Addy Gang, Addy Gang, Addy Gang, Addy Gang.
Addy Gang indeed. Addy Gang indeed. It's a shame that Lukey Pump didn't do anything else. It was kind of like a one-hit wonder, almost a bit like Lil Pump.
Yeah. And it's a shame that we don't.
It's a shame that Lukey Pump didn't anger people by supporting Donald Trump and get sucking on some porn stars' toes either. He didn't do those things.
If only he was he would ask. He would be asked. He would do it, though. That's what we know about Lukey Pump.
Right. You know, you'd have to get him out of
waiting on his moment.
You'd have to get him out of that sorrow cupboard in his glory holes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Allegedly.
I
miss that. I really miss Addy Knew You.
Yeah. That's what I would... If I was allowed to ask Gary Monk one question, I'd just scream in his face, why? And he'd know it was about acting. He'd know it was about acting.
Do you kind of wish it was the late 90s, Rich, so that you could go on and be like, I'm Richard Miller, and I'd love to have a one-to-one with Gary Monk. I'd ask him, what was he thinking when he let Addy Knew You go?
I've just no doubt we would be places higher in the table with Addy Knew You in the team. Same performances, same everything else. He would have won us points on his own.
Mm.
And for that, And he wouldn't have cost that much, surely. Come on. Anyway, this is not a review of how badly Gary Monk did in that transfer window. It's about songs, Luke. We're in this for the music.
Exactly, and I know Rich isn't because he made the song that is bubbling under on TikTok, just waiting to be picked up and have dances by. What would you call this song, Rich?
I don't know. I'd seen some people doing the Voicey app. It's called on Apple platforms. I wanted to give it a try myself. It was near the start of the season. I was feeling hopelessly optimistic. This really hasn't aged well in terms of some of the the misplaced
and the misplay. Yeah, Well, I've named it "What the What."
What the What sounds good.
Beautiful.
Wednesday's got me so tolerant. Wednesday, what the what? Starting from below the bottom, looking up at Drake where he got going. No digressing kick, we look to youth. Izzy, Fizzy, Che, they are the proof. Wednesday's got me so tolerant. Wednesday, what the what? It's to another season, different gravy. Stick with us, y'all, come on, maybe. Wednesday's got me so tolerant. Wednesday, what the what?
Wonderful. So I think I can share a little bit of this, or I should say, my whapping alter ego, Notorious Lukey G, did on the song that I did for the beginning of the I think we both just did a song out of nowhere, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, that was good. We didn't actually kind of coordinate anything, so then it was like, okay. So I actually said, watch FDB be better than JOC in one of my lyrics to Juicy. And maybe, he would be better than James O'Connor if he'd ever play a string
never present.
If he's ever going to play a string of games. And so it's interesting to see that. And then obviously you went with Izzy, Fizzy, Che are the proof. We're going with youth, which is also funny because Che Dunkley's not too young.
No,
he's no spring chicken.
But younger than, I guess, Leuven's maybe, who would have left?
Leuven's had gone a fair while ago, so
yeah,
he'd already rocked up at Sunderland and played 3 games before his contract was mutually terminated with mutual consent. So, yeah, we do, like much of our other podcasting colleagues that we've covered with these songs, is we do sometimes get carried away with a rage of this feeling of optimism that Wednesday could be any good. And Izzy, Fizzy, Che are the proof.
I mean, yeah, Izzy, we've had one good game out of, or 1.5. Fizzy has been
about the same, right? It's probably about 2 or 3.
Probably, yeah, yeah. FDB, we had one good cup match, maybe. And that's it. He's been persona non grata for 3 of the 4 managers we've had this season. Let's get on to the pros, Luke. Is it time? Is it time?
It is time. It is time indeed. I'm just going to load up another track into Zencastr here, which we're using. So let's kind of look over this and let me kind of check my notes and kind of we'll go through every track on the We Are the Owls. The first one is by the Wednesday Cop Band, and it is Oh Yes.
The band has certainly got that going. It helps to keep you warm as well.
And it did make me say, oh, yes. What about you, Rich?
The bucket hat is on. The whistle's in my mouth. I'm doing the Running Man. I'm not even born yet, but I'm nostalgic. This is... I love the big sort of ravey feel to it.
The cheap pop house is fantastic. I wanted to play and get into it, probably a bit extended beyond my kind of limit, so I'm looking to play these songs to give people a feel, a little soupçon of this record and some of the music. So it's by the Wednesdayite band. It's called Oh Yes. It's got that cheap pop house feel. We go before we get to the do 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 that, for the, which is where we get there. I love the lyrics to say it's a build up to, it's a Saturday, what a day,
yeah,
and then waiting for the band to play. Like it's
That's
making it.
For.
It's why we're all going. I know it's making that like the real reason we go to Hillsborough. Really, is not to watch Wednesday. It's actually more like they're the, what's the name of the Top of the Pops dancers from like the 70s, 80s?
Oh,
you know,
was it Legs 11?
Legs 11. Well, it could well be Legs 11. So maybe that's it. Maybe it's just a dancing kind of footballing performance to kind of accompany this, this music. So that's the real reason we're going. Really, I like how incredibly self-serving the nature of the song is to go into and be like, it's actually all just about the Wednesdayite band, really.
Yes, yeah. Oh, there's a mixture. In fact, it changed. Legs and Co. were one. Pan's People, the Gojos. It moved around. Is the answer?
It moved around. So, but I personally would have loved a whole album of this cheap pop house. This is fantastic.
Yes.
There's a bit later in the song which goes like ba ma 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 ma. I can't even remember how the melody for that goes, but then they flip the vocal a bit, and I do love it when that happens. It gives me great memory of when I was last working in Sheffield before I moved to Canada. I worked in kind of an area of human resources for a hospital, and I remembered we had the sheer joy, which a lot of departments didn't have, of getting to cheekily have the radio on. And I remember around the time Calvin Harris's "Ready for the Weekend" was on, and it has a bit where the Renter vocal house woman gets "Ready for the weekend, and that was the best bit of the song. But I also loved the fact that it pissed my work colleague Lynn off so much. When it got to that bit, which is pretty much near the end of the song, in that pop radio edit, like she'd be like, "Oh, turn it off." It was great. It was great. Also, while we're bringing on a certain mention of the radio, I can also mention other fellow Sheffield Wednesday podcaster, James Marriott. And one of the greatest things I think he's done was when we were working there, we used to tune into WAWAW FM. And my work colleague Lee was friends with James, and he got James to play Noah and the Whales 5 Years Time for us one time.
Oh, there we go.
While he was doing one of his afternoon drive time shifts on WAWAW FM, which was fantastic. Very nice. So there we go. So yeah, any other thoughts about the Wednesdayite band's Oh Yes?
Well, I mean, it is an absolute treat from start to finish. It's got to be said, and like definitely the fact that like it's got that thing of like there's about a minute of new lyrics, and then the song is 4 minutes long. So like there's a lot of la 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 at the end, but they do sort of play around with it. But it is slightly odd in that the horns and the singing are almost discordant with the rave track. Like it's very like listening to the band, because the drummer always seems to be out of time with everybody else in the band. So actually it really was quite evocative of being on the carp. Just fantastic.
It is pretty ballsy to start a compilation with something by the Wednesdayite band, considering they're so divisive. I mean, it is a banger. You are front loading it, but I wonder if someone not kind of involved with the club is putting this together.
Maybe.
or someone not of any kind of fan allegiance to this.
There's definitely a moment where music was like the gold rush sort of thing. Because that's what this comes from, is there's money in music and you can kind of churn out 80s, 90s pop hits in like this sort of style of music and that similar sort of feel. That sort of Stock Aitken and Waterman, like big noise, big production, sounds like a pop song, doesn't really matter. Like if you get some good lyrics or if you get some involvement from the team, even better. But we can do a pop song like in almost on autopilot, a bit like the Weezer thing of, like, okay, word that says long here, guitar solo here. Like, we've figured out what pop sounds like at this period of time.
Yeah, if there was a Sheffield Wednesday version of that, Rich, would it be called Stamp, as in Phil Stamp, Alkin, and Waterfront brackets on the? I think that would be the name of the
very good
pop chart tuning behemoths. So that's that one.
Yeah.
Anything else? Sorry, something else you want to say there, Rich?
No, that's fine. No, it's just more of the same, really, to be honest.
Moving on, this is one that was officially put out by the club, and this is something that has great nostalgic value for me, and I love it dearly because we actually had the 7-inch of this growing up. Great disappointment for me to put all this together and look at doing, think about these things, do some research, listen to the songs, do some notes. That number one, I rang my dad and said, do you remember any Sheffield Wednesday songs? And my dad's like, I don't really know, and I don't really care that much for music. And not really interested in like the things outside of the game.
Yeah.
Which probably means that he probably hates my podcast. So there we go. And then ringing my eldest brother Andy and saying, I remembered we had the 7-inch. Do we still have this? Because it's amazing. And he's like, oh no, that's long gone. So there we go. Anyway, so Sheffield Wednesday Football Club, we are the Owls. I believe this was like 84, 85, around that kind of neck of the woods. This is kind of around the Howard Wilkinson promotion team. So that's
who
kind
gets
of
a name check, doesn't he?
Yes, I believe he does. Anyway, let's play a little bit of this because it is fantastic.
Have you heard there's a rumour? Have you heard there's a buzz? Have you heard them all talking? They're talking about us. 'Cause we're flying high. High boy, high boy. Yes, we're flying high, and now you will see why. 'Cause Owls flying high are a hell of a sight. So come up to Hillsborough and we'll show you why we are the Owls. Oh, we are the Owls, that's what we say. We are the Owls. Oh, Sheffield Wednesday.
I just had to play as much of it as I could because I can't stop. That's the problem. This is why I'm probably going to get sued for this, but I just love this.
They can take on half the debts that we've accrued in making the podcast so far.
That's great. Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic.
Sorry, go on.
So I don't quite. I know it's a cover. I don't know the original well enough. I think I know it. It's one of those kind of 80s songs. The fact they've done that and kind of changed the lyrics, I think it works really well. I believe. Do I think kind of like Martin Ware was involved in this? I know there's a few of these things that we get onto, which, as we said, Martin Ware is involved with, which is pretty fantastic. I'm not entirely sure of the personnel. It's great. I love this. This really, for some reason, kind of hits for me. I think it is a tune. It is well done. The lyrics are good. The lyric changes are fantastic. Owls flying high are a hell of a sight is such a great line. It makes me a bit weepy. Someone could do a slow, wanky version of this and it would make me cry. It would make me bawl more than I see your first 10 minutes of Up. I raise you with the lounge
Slow
version
down.
of We Are the Owls. Love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Heartbreakingly not on the stream, and I even got to the point of wondering, should I actually buy a 7-inch for about 40 quid online of this? It was tempting. It's tempting. Rich, what are your views on this?
Oh well, echo the sentiment very much. It's absolutely fantastic. It's I also like. Well, I love like the sort of quite experimental sounding percussion. The fact that you've got a lead xylophone, which how many songs have a lead xylophone? Puts you in kind of like fun
as well. Like put on the liner notes. So you're like, did you play backing xylophone or did you play lead xylophone?
No, I brought the big glockenspiel. I really went for it today. Yeah, I love the lyrics. I also love the change where they do the like call and response. So it's we're flying high, high boy, and then that changes the next time around. Like we wear blue and white, stripes boy, stripes boy. Ah, chef's kiss, magnifique. It's beautiful.
Magnifique. It's fantastic. Moving on, there is
specifically in liner notes. That one, by the way. Sorry, it just in terms of the personnel, or an idea of the personnel. It was mentioned, I think, in the liner notes, that one, but maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, sorry. Go on.
No worries. Moving on to probably some people involved who are famous Sheffield musical people who have an affinity for Sheffield Wednesday. Moving on to that is another big one, which is Paul Carrick, who did We Love You Wednesday.
Oh, yeah.
Lovely. I first want to give it's difficult with these songs because like there's so many different kind of gear changes and like setup. Like so many of these ones like mutate through so many ideas and phases when they go up the gears in the song. Like I think we all know, I think most of us have heard that, right? Like the bulk of that. But that intro is very Thames Television. It reminds me the other day, I was not aware, but I found out about Matt Berry's TV theme tune cover album. Have you seen
Oh, I've not heard about that.
He does like Rainbow, but he also does like, here's the Thames Television, here's the LWT theme tune.
Nice.
And I just think that's wonderful enough before we get into the meat of it, really. I could probably listen to more of that intro.
Well, it's such a big... Like, that is the start to an epic or a movie, or, do you know, like, it's massive. There's so much pomp. It almost, like, crushes the song under its own weight of importance before it gets going. But it's beautiful. It's really... I think that's one of the fun things with the 80s. I think it's like all of the limits were off, the artificial limits. It's like you had so much space on the deck. You had keyboards that could replicate all these musical instruments to a fairly good degree and things like that. So like it is just like there's a lot of like throwing things in the mix and seeing what works, and that is really fun. And it also has an amazing sax solo towards the end, which really takes things up a notch in that kind of like middle eighth section. It's really great.
I don't remember that. Do you think there's something very interesting about like we're going to see a lot of themes around these eras, and the music that was produced. For, like you said, that music is seen as this kind of gold mine, for the Stamp Alkin and Waterfronts. Churning out these Wednesday hits to get a few bob between them. But, like, a lot of these have that kind of marching band kind of feel with like the drum.
It's what's the Christmas song? The cavalry one.
Little Drummer Boy?
Especially with the start, it's a bit like that one, isn't it? Jonah Louie. Dun, 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 the cavalry. It's got a real feel of that song. But then it's also, this is a kind of classic model of the football song, is you have a singer and then a crowd or the team doing kind of like call and response type thing. So it also sort of fits in that kind of trope as well, which you do see as throughout lots of football songs. That kind of classic. I say classic, it probably only happened for about like 5 years or something like that. But like the classic cup final song is sort of singer and then the team doing like a crowd response. Unless you're lucky enough to have a John Barnes in the team to kind of show off a particular skill.
John Barnes, who on the Anfield rap rhymes Barnes with bananas, which he does it really well, but it also makes me a little bit nervous knowing that, during that time he was under, like, he had quite a bit of racial abuse against him and bananas were thrown against him when he played for Watford.
And also that he wrote the lyrics with somebody from South Africa, a white guy from South Africa. So it kind of...
Yes, we were discovering and talking about Craig Johnston, the guy, the Liverpool player who was behind the Predators.
Yes.
Remember how great they were? The headband, the Razor Ruddock headband.
Predator headband.
Yeah, remember that very
Maybe that's
very
what Izzy Brown's doing. He's getting his headers better. Getting some real swerve on those headers.
Leaving a nice imprint when he puts the cosh on someone, I guess, never sending off, you mean? Yeah. Anyway. Moving on to track 4. So this is the Hillsborough Crew with Steel City. So this is very much a who's who of Sheffield Wednesday popular fandom who's been involved in this. Let's not delay.
Gonna move on up for Steel City, yeah.
Well, not one of them is green when they're out on the glass. Better take an early train when we whoop your ass. If you think you can take it and you're one of the boys, we're gonna raise the roof making all our noise. Snoozing is losing when you're playing the blues, and Howard's army gonna give you the news. I said a hit, a hop, a suck it and see. The blue and white army is reality.
And it goes on. There's something so beautiful about that era of music and everything that's coming into it. This is exactly what I want in a mid-80s song. I don't even know. So this is the funny thing, that so much of this I kind of look back at and think about what are the elements, and maybe this is problematic in terms of licensing, and maybe this is some of the reason why some of these songs kind of aren't readily available, which is a real damn shame. But like in terms of like football chants and football music, that's the match of it. Is that the match of the day theme? What is the formal? But again, I struggle with what is the formal piece of music behind a lot of these things.
Yes.
So like that, but then doing that with like the Depeche Mode "People Are People," or you may know it as the "It'll Never Work" theme tune, if you remember that kind of kid show from the 80s, 90s, like the Simps chonging out a football melody, the vocal explosion at the beginning. Howard's Boys Are Going to Give You the News, sung by Tricky Dicky, Ian Reddington, a popular Sheffield Wednesday supporting actor. Martin Ware is involved as well. The crunching guitar synth for the chorus is fantastic. It's, as I said here, industrial lad magic full of delicious steel layers. And I also want to give a shout out to my cat Leonard, who looked wholly unimpressed by this blaring out of my laptop last night when I was listening to it for the first time.
There's also, again, that experimentation. There's a point where they sort of have this. They have like studs clacking on the floor as like part of the percussion.
Beautiful, because this is very much like, I'm a Depeche Mode fan. This is very much what Depeche Mode were doing. They were like, I think for the album Black Celebration, they did a bit where they recorded the sound of a firework going across,
right?
And it's just full of like A, the experimentation, but B, also it's the 80s and we've got a fuck ton of money and we can go and spend and experiment to do these things because we can. Because we can. And I think there's something very magical in that. Anyway, thank you.
Yeah. No, and I just love that era of rap where you kind of had to introduce yourself, but also explain what rap is. You know? We're hipping and we're hopping. It's not quite singing, you know, like...
Well, that's
but it is a song. It's still a valid musical thing that we're doing. So here I am, and I'm here to say.
It's got the classic intro of, well, I'm Luke Gledall, and I'm here to say I'm going to rap to the beat in a rapping way.
Yeah. And you have to use hip and hop in there somewhere just to kind of like, it's like the checklist.
Yeah.
The checklist of proto-rap. Yeah.
But that was sort of a big thing in that kind of mid to late 80s and even pushing into the 90s was the football song as the pop rap kind of song, right?
Yes. Yeah. With some scratching.
There needs to be some more scratching on some of these ones, though. That's the one thing that I found disappointing is like, you know, as I said, I'm a man who enjoys... I actually texted our friend Povey and said, what is it called when like the vocal lines just keep like that ready for the weekend thing I mentioned? Because I would like to listen to a whole genre of music which just does that, just needlessly over and over again. That would just that would be fantastic for me. But again, not being able to enunciate what it is to search for it on Google makes it quite difficult for a man like me. So yeah, I think we could have had a bit more of that, but this is fantastic. Like this is really, really enjoyable.
Well, it's so big and ambitious, isn't it? That's as you say, it's because there's money. Because you know you're going to make money, then you can spend money, and that means that you get a lot thrown at this. Which nowadays it would probably be like drum machine. You probably do it on an iPad for like 50p, and it would sound in a way like it had been done on an iPad for 50p. And then Chancery would sell it for £50 in the club shop.
I believe in like hip hop and rap, it's known as like a $5 beat, which is like the damning indictment of like a really bad piece of production.
Yeah, but this is, I mean, that is just, it's the scale is so big for something that is in a way kind of throwaway, but it's definitely not because they've taken the time and the effort. It's really fantastic.
Excellent stuff. Yeah, so we're moving on. So this is one which, I mean, everything is very much kind of like going back to maybe that the Wednesday footballing chutzpah to be excited about things doesn't age very well. And that can be, unfortunately, the thing. So, like, I think there is something still both, A, it doesn't age well, but B, also it's kind of also gloriously of its era. Next track on this is If It's Wednesday, It Must Be Wembley. I'm blanking on, I think it's the Hillsborough Crew. So again, Martin Ware's involved. Ian Reddington as well is involved in kind of vocal duties here. Now, my memory of this is much better than it actually is. I remember the rap actually being a touch more melodic in here, but I'm going to put a pin in my notes there. Let's play this and get into it.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are proud to present, live and direct from Sheffield, the greatest team the world has ever seen, Sheffield Wednesday!
Some
shirtless king. A Warhorse Waddle made to swing. Sheridan Pearson, Harks and Hyde. A Wilson Watson, feel my pride. Worthington Farmer, Anderson Hurst. Drink the nectar, quench my thirst. Bartman, Jemson Rye. Catch the feeling and you're out of sight. If it's Wednesday, it must be Wednesday.
What's in effect? Come on!
You think, and the view down south, I wag the tail to the horse's mouth. Read the papers, believe the hype, the truth unfolding with the stars and stripes. Grass is greener on the northern side, the way is clearer with the changing tide. Hearts go out to the hearts that gave, fortune favors the blue way.
Sorry, I'm really overstaying my welcome with this kind of idea of just giving a little bit, because I had to get to that chorus. And again, it's that field of football pop rap that we talk about. I just love the Renta Luther Vandross chorus vocal. Whoever that gentleman is, I just want to shake his hand, buy him a beverage of his choice.
He went by Luther Vandross.
Oh, the brash rush of Sims around the chorus. I enjoy the "if it's Wembley, it must be Wednesday" spoken refrain. We've had this, I think we've probably had this in some of the early tracks, but let's just focus here. Lyrics about football players of the time is magical. Really is the Salt Bay in any football song. Ian Reddington's involved. There's a really good "yeah," which I can't even remember how they pronounce, but I really enjoyed. It also makes me really appreciate that there's just so much of football chanting and culture that's just kept in. Like, I wonder if there's a judge who's judging the case of Billy Ray Cyrus versus football fans and going, I can't ascertain if there's any melody there, so I have to throw out the case. It's just this beautiful kind of bastardization of melody in football chanting that I really enjoyed. Like, just as a bit of backtrack to talk about Barry Bannon, I had to ask Rich about the Barry Bannon song. I'm like, what is that to the tune of? Because I can't work it out from listening to it.
Well, it isn't the classic version. The classic version of that is the Christmas. A lot of teams have a variation on, but ours is walking along, singing a song, walking in a waddle wonderland. That's not in that song. That is a refrain that fans have added to that song. There is no point in Winter Wonderland where they go walking along singing a song, walking in a Winter Wonderland. It doesn't happen. But it's a nice, like,
ooh, I love the winter. Ooh, it's got the snow. There's also Christmas. It's great fun.
Yeah, I just, for my notes on that one, I'm saying, I've got, it's Europop, it's Right Said Fred, there's a brash Beastie Boys sample.
Did they sample the Beastie Boys?
I don't think it is a Beastie Boys sample, but there's a New York thing, like saying a rap.
4 and 3 and 2 and 1, what happened? Yeah.
I like the Bartman bit where everybody comes in and there's some like echo on it, and obviously our breaking hoo-hoos hoot or something very similar at the start. I love it so much. It's just fantastic. This is full on. Yeah, it's put everything in and put the kitchen sink in. It's yeah. And turn the taps on, it's just, why not put it in the mix?
What the stuff. Track 6 on this compilation, it's a praise for Sheffield Wednesday by Big Ron's Barmy Army. So already from the off, we've got a number of references to kick us off on this. So talking about praise or grumble, Pog, as we often know, RS Pog. So anyway, this Paul Carrick is involved in this one, so let's get involved in this one.
Praise or grumble.
Praise Wednesday.
Praise or grumble.
It's a praise for Sheffield Wednesday.
Praise or grumble.
Praise for Sheffield Wednesday.
Frasier Crumble.
Praise for Sheffield Wednesday.
Praise for
Sheffield Wednesday.
great performance. Praise for
It's the praise of Sheffield Wednesday.
Frasier Crumble.
Praise Wednesday.
Frasier Crumble.
Praise for Sheffield Wednesday.
Last year I nearly cried. My mama said I should be certified. But going down was bad enough. But then going up made it really rough. The way things look really black. Big Bone told us we'd be back. Tell everybody that the heat is on. Now we're going to Division 1. There's gonna be a celebration in every corner of the nation. You better open at the ocean because we're headed for promotion. And it's a praise for Sheffield Wednesday.
Really, again, went way over that. I felt that playing that through here and just kind of thinking about kind of like time and where we're at with this podcast. I was just thinking, like, I remember listening to it and thinking it felt like the intro, like, was pretty succinct, but that goes on for a long time.
I think in terms of finding clips, that's almost every one of them starts with something that is not the song. So if it's like some isolated chanting, or the one earlier that starts with the massive like crescendo of horns and stuff like that, it's almost, I think like it's quite hard to kind of go, oh, we'll just play the first 30 seconds because the song doesn't start often until
until seconds 48, 49 or something. Yeah.
Yeah. I did wonder who Frasier Crumble was.
He's coming up through the academy, Rich. He's really good. Him and Bailey Delamitri. Academy. Not sure how to pronounce that one. Paul Carrick, did you find there was a very cheeky reference to The Heat Is On?
Oh, yeah.
The Heat Is On, which was, this is a very...
Rhymed with Division 1.
Division 1. And also was the line, I'm going to need some lotion because we're going for promotion.
Yeah.
So is he making allusion to needing...
It's devotion to
Did I just mishear that because I'm a dirty boy? Possibly.
It's inspired by Silence of the Lambs. He says, "Put the lotion in the basket. You're going home in a casket." That's perfect. Really goes off the rails.
Also, there was a line in this: "Go on, Kingy, do your thingy," and then he goes, "Go on, steaming up down that wing." And I'm like, you really neshed that last line, though. You bottled it, Carrot.
Yeah, you've got to go for Wingy, haven't you?
You've got to go for Wingy. Yeah. Go down the Wingy in your dinghy.
In your dinghy.
Phil Kingy, who's from Swindinny. I like the playing off the praise of...
Yankee to score at Wembley as well, which is...
What's that, Rich?
One of the lyrics is about the first Yankee to score at Wembley as well.
Yes. There's going to be an assembly when the first Yankee scores at Wembley. He did score, didn't he? He scored in the League Cup final.
Yeah.
So John Hawkes is still waiting on an assembly.
Yeah. The promise.
Much like we've never given a testimonial for Kevin Pressman. We're still waiting on. That's on the list alongside an assembly for John Hawkes. I enjoyed the playing off of Praise or Grumble. I think that was a bit before my time with Bob Jackson, who was the host of Praise or Grumble, who was apparently very notoriously a Wednesdayite.
Okay.
Kind of led towards, we're very PC these days, Rich, so we don't have like Paul Walker just berating on about how much he loves his blades. And then Seth Bennett can't join in how much he loves the blades. And then Andy Giddings says, I actually really like the blades, even though I support Halifax Town. So we don't do that these days. We don't have people's allegiances quite directly and blatantly on show, apparently.
Yeah, it felt for a little while like it was going the other direction again. Like people were going to talk about the clubs that they liked. I remember Des Lynam being outed as a fan of. I can't even remember the team. Isn't that weird that I remember him being outed and being really annoyed? I can't remember what the team was.
Didn't have the same stick to it like Jeff Stelling and Hartlepool, for example.
Well, I suppose, yeah, Jeff Stelling's an example, isn't it? Where he just, absolutely partisan when it comes to that team. It can go either way. It's fine. I think as long as you're not stupid with it. But then it becomes local journalist, whether that's on the radio or in print. Your job is you're doing a good job if everybody thinks you're biased against them. Like if the pigs think you're a Wednesday fan and Wednesday fans think you're a pig, then tick. You've got Billy Balance in order. You've done it.
Sign of a job well done. You're saying?
Yeah, everybody hates me.
Everybody chuffing hates
Use me with suspicion.
I'll go home and enjoy my molten cake from Morrison's. Don't know why.
Where are we heading next?
I just love that. We are heading next to Sheffield Wednesday Football Club doing We Love Sheffield Wednesday. Sorry, I feel like I'm becoming very. And what were they doing? They were dreaming of Memphis. So I feel like I'm doing it like that. What was Sheffield Wednesday saying? They were saying we love Sheffield Wednesday.
Can you hear us on your radio? Can you hear us on your TV? Can you hear us down in London town? Down to Wembley. Can you hear us at Old Trafford, at Anfield and White Hart Lane? Can you hear the house for the Owls, wherever Wednesday plays? 'Cause we love Sheffield Wednesday, and we'll follow them wherever they play. You'll hear shouts and howls for the Owls, for Sheffield Wednesday.
I don't like the beginning of this. I've got to say, I really dislike the beginning, but I do love it when it gets going. Like, I would edit and just take that bit out. I think it needs something new to kind of be the intro for this one, I think. It's very moving to me. This is the B-side to We Are the Owls. So, again, with that same team, same personnel. So, pretty much one of the greatest 7 inches committed to vinyl. In my opinion. I find it very moving. I like, from my notes, can you fuckers hear us down in London town? The list of grounds humbles us now, though. I mean, we're a long way away from being one of the behemoths of Division 1 top-tier football that we were at that point. You know, we could bring it back and say, could you hear us down in Northampton town?
We could.
Afterwards, we're going to go to the Roadmenders, which is a popular kind of small music venue in Northampton, and lift the roof off there.
Oh dear. Can you hear us at St. James's Park? No, not that one, the other one.
Oh. Really bringing the gold today, Rich.
Oh, yeah, just a gorgeous country-tinged number. I think in terms of the start, I reckon now you'd probably lead off with that organ and then like build from there. I don't know I love the organ, the sort of soaring organ gives it that hymn sort of feel. And also that's really it's really like doubled down on by the way that they say where'er instead of wherever, which is very like hymns sort of just take bits out of words to make them fit the rhyme pattern because hymn writers were like writing a new song every week for the congregation. So it was just like, what's the tune? Right, we'll just make it fit. Like, just chop some letters out, and that where they play is very like from a hymn, and again. An amazing middle eight. I think like the 60s were good for middle eights, but like the 80s was where the middle eight just came into its own. And it's absolutely sweet as a nut on this one, where the flute is joined by some sax, and it is it's almost like a punch the air moment. It's a middle eight worth celebrating.
I feel like you're going to do a chef's kiss and break your fingers in the process of doing it so hard, Rich.
It's a number 8 on a par with Chrissy Waddle. That's how good a middle 8 is.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Excellent. So moving on, I don't know if we need to... Do you think we need to play Singing the Blues by Terry Curran? Let's play a little bit just to be consistent, I guess. But everybody knows this one, surely, right? Anyway.
Yeah, but it's nice to hear it.
Okay. That's quite enough of that one. No, I'm just kidding. I think we all know that. It's very much something that's, interesting. Do you find it interesting for people of our generation? Like, I mentioned this to my dad. It's like Terry Curran is still the man who rather savagely blotted his copybook in, traipsing across the Sheffield Divide. Yeah,
it's interesting, isn't it? There's, I suppose it's happened so often that way. It's very rarely happened the other way, but yeah, it's still such an almost mythical figure in the past of Wednesday, though. That to me is just a complete like Pavlovian. It's a win. Like it happens as soon as the final whistle blows, really, and a win, and it's relief. It's I think I salivate probably just like the Belgs. It's almost hard to sort of scratch beyond that. Like, the strong harmonica throughout, honking on Bobo as Aerosmith's Aerosmith's harmonica-based album was called, and that became a byword in our house for being a bit whiffy. Still in use today. But yeah, it's nice to hear that that beautiful sound. It means a win. It means good things. It generally means a good weekend or a nicer drive home. I saw just on the honking on Bobo on the harmonica. The harmonica note. I saw Conor Oberst on a solo tour, and he had someone with him putting his.
His harmonicas in the fishbowl.
Yeah,
I love this because this is thanks to, I don't know if you listen to on Spotify, they have X on Y, so they have an artist on to talk about another artist. So maybe you should be surprised / not surprised to know there was an episode where Phoebe Bridgers was basically talking about all her favorite Conor Oberst, Bright Eyes, Desaparecido records.
That will be very precisely my sort of thing. I will seek that out.
Oh, good. Do so.
I must have seen her on that tour, I think. I do remember him being supported by an attractive blonde person, but I didn't catch her set. I just saw her sort of bits when she came on and sang songs with him occasionally. But yeah, it was almost like mesmerizing to see these harmonicas put into the fishbowl and fished out, and there's just a constant kind of bit of performative art almost at the side of the stage.
Who do you think is cleaning Terry Curran's harmonica?
I wouldn't like to guess, really.
And which half of Sheffield would that person be from?
Wow. Yeah.
Sorry, which the 2/3 of Wednesday or the third of United, obviously.
Of course. Yeah. Of course.
Obviously. Yeah, it's still nice to have that on there. I think that still it should be on any great Sheffield Wednesday compilation.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. So, any other thoughts on that one, Rich?
No, that's me.
Okay, so yeah, what more is there to say? I think it's probably a good way to conclude on that one. Moving on from there, so this is quite possibly, for me, one of the strangest things on here, because I don't have any great context for it, you know?
I think I know what's coming, but
Okay, so this is a lady by the name of Lynn Carter. I could not find any further information for her on Google outside of this track, Alive and Well. So I'm not sure what career she's made for herself or what else she did afterwards. But she was involved at some point with crafting and singing the song for this compilation. So Lynn Carter, Alive and Well.
Giving all she got on the big green stage, watched by countless millions all over the world. That was their year, that was the golden age. 2 decades on, now the gold has turned to dust. Her beauty's gone.
I'm going to stop that there because I thought the chorus was coming, but it's one of those where like the verse just... Oh,
I think that might be the chorus.
No,
I think
it's
that might be the
football is alive and well, Hillsborough.
Oh, yeah. Alive and Well are living in Georgia.
Is that the original?
No, I don't know. It's so weird. That song is so weird.
The devil went down to Hillsborough. Because I don't know what she is talking about. I don't know whether
Sheffield Wednesday, isn't it?
My first is in violence, but not in fear.
It's so
like what?
Isolated and despised as well. It's again, we're in quite biblical territory here. We've had a hymn, a song of praise. Now we've got
songs of praise and grumble.
Well, this is the grumble. I think if it only takes 20 years for your gold to turn into dust, that's probably not gold.
Is a bar of gold still a bar of gold if I crumple it in my hand?
No, I mean, it's not something it's not something we've particularly ever mentioned on this podcast, but obviously this song would make more sense if it came after the Hillsborough disaster. I know this is pretty dark, but it's not. It's before. It's 3 years before.
Is that the date? Is that the date? Because I don't understand the dates in this. There's a reference to 66, isn't there?
Which makes it 86 would be 20 years later.
Right.
Okay. And I saw somewhere, I saw a kind of release, a kind of, like a copyright sort of mention saying it was 1986. So like, that's before before the Hillsborough disaster. It's so weird. Like, kind of, it's almost like a weird like prayer for non-violence.
Mm.
And as you say, there's nothing else about it. I feel like there should be essays. I feel like The Athletic should have a section of the Wednesday page just dedicated to this song and explain like an investigative thing.
One thing I like about doing this is like I've just got zero context about what's going on with this. Because it's like because so little of it seems to be specifically about Sheffield Wednesday, from what I can tell from my reading of this. Like the bits I enjoy are the bits with the token kind of references that feel kind of sprinkled in.
Yeah,
like I love, and there's a certain. I'm not sure where this lady Lynn Carter is from, but it feels like she's local.
Yeah.
So it's like Hillsborough. I like that. That's really good. Any shameless shoehorning in of that's really fun. But there is a beauty of listening to this thing in a real bubble. Like I just have no idea.
Yeah, it would be some little clues would be interesting for this one. It's very. I wonder if sort of as you say, some of it is maybe quite vague. You know how there's an episode of This American Life where somebody talks about how they had like a song for their town, and it was on like. It's really amazing. Everybody loved the song. It turned as so go on.
It's about Calgary, like as they interviewed a guy from Calgary. Course, yeah. Hello, Calgary.
Calgary.
Yeah.
but then it turns out there's like 100, and they sold it to like so many different towns and cities across North America. And maybe it's that. Maybe she just sold that song on every one of these. Like, yeah, people feel slightly wistful about their team, so we can just drop that in. People will add their own context. It'll do. It's a change up.
So that is all that we can say on Lynn Carter's opus Alive and Well. Let's move on. This is Wednesday Blues with Derby Days.
22nd of January 1994, Sheffield Wednesday 3, Sheffield United 1.
White scores! White scores! Andy Pearce! Andy Pearce! Wilson gets his head around his three. Wilson gets his head around his three.
We went into a 3-0 lead.
I'm going to stop there because it's going to take a while to get into it. So we get to the chant of Andy Pearce, Andy Pearce, Andy Pearce, that kind of the next bit. This is very much the mentality of one of his songs, which is just like an amalgamation. It's a Jive Bunny mega mix of Sheffield Wednesday stuff, isn't it, really?
I also put down Jive Bunny Megamix. And then also, though, with that weird quote at the start, a Why Brummy Megamix.
Yes, exactly. Why is it 23rd of January 1994?
Oh, no, we're here to talk about Sheffield Wednesday and put it on a track.
I don't mean to sound funny, but we fucking mullered him.
The second best Megamix after the one that's on Five's Greatest Hits.
There's a really good Britney Spears one on the one for Britney Spears.
Oh, well, I don't know where that would fit in the running order, but it would have to go some to beat Five's.
So
it's very fun, isn't it?
It's fun. I said this is a real glorious mess. I love the pissy little piano plonking. Like it just felt everything is like grandiose and a bit, going for a touch of that feel and a bit of oomph, a little bit of mini machismo behind that. Yeah. And then it's just the piano just feels like, it feels like someone's been like, well, I can do this with conviction, or I could get my 4-year-old daughter to do this. It feels like that. Yeah. I also love, so this was the era of Trevor Francis. So this was kind of nearer the end of Trevor Francis' reign at Wednesday, or the end days. And the bit of Francis going, and we went into a 3-0 lead. And then the sound of some grown, and then followed that by the sound of some grown men coming is pretty great.
Oh,
there's
brilliant.
there's some weird bits, like, I don't know. We do have we know, Rich, that we have a very varied and wide, expansive fan base that goes beyond the confines of Sheffield, which is magical. But interesting, like you said, to focus on the Brummy dude, and then after the walking in the Wallow Wonderland, someone goes sorted. Popular South Yorkshire expression. Sorted.
Yeah, sorted.
Someone
Top one sorted. Mad for it.
Someone gives out a joyous Tasmanian devil scream. Is joyful yet confusing. Other bits I enjoyed, It Should Have Been 10-1 is gloriously melodic.
Yes.
But again, it's that you're just sewing all these pieces together to make a song, which
patchwork
is
quilt.
It is.
Needlepoint Wednesday with the patchwork quilt.
Yeah. What? Do you have anything else for your notes, Rich?
No, I just enjoyed that sort of Jive Bunny Megamix feel to it. It's always been something I've rather enjoyed in life, and nice to see it applied to Wednesday and various chants and bits, odds and sods, really, isn't it? It's just kind of like, yeah, that'll do. Bit of that, bit of this. Is it weird that guy's Brummy? It doesn't matter. Put it in. It's all going in.
It's all good. All good. All good. Nothing bad.
This is snout to tail music making we're doing here.
Every part of the buffalo goes into the Sheffield Wednesday. Anyway, let's move on. So this is by the Wednesdayites. We're not sure exactly which Wednesdayites, but it was some people who put themselves together as the Wednesdayites. They copyright that name, obviously. With The Owls Are On Their Way.
South Yorkshire to the banks of the river Don. We'll follow the boys in blue and white back to Division 1. From Plymouth to Joyland on every Saturday. Let's hear it for the boys in blue and white. The Owls are on their way.
The Owls are on their way. I enjoyed the reference, the geographical reference. Geographical references in songs are always fantastic.
Yes.
Something that's just lovely, just giving a degree of space and time and location. It's reference to, Plymouth to Geordieland is beautiful. It's not quite, while I'm talking about this, thinking about places, it's not quite Mountain Goats going to Georgia, but maybe it's a Wednesdayite 80s equivalent. It feels a bit too marching band for me. It feels a bit too marching band meets Willy Fogg.
There's also, it reminds me of the Lumberjack song by Monty Python as well, a little bit.
It does, yeah.
The wild sprouting owl leaping from tree to tree. With his blue and white stripes on, and we'll sing.
But there is a comfort to that. Like, I would appreciate a breakdown with Dogtanian barking. There should be an 80s kid.
That would have been more in tempo with most of the other songs.
I would have loved an 80s kids animated TV show about Ozzy Owl. That would be pretty great.
Oh, that would be great. Just inexplicably doing a slightly inappropriate humping gesture in lots of different scenarios.
Exactly, yeah. We can get an action figure that does it as well. Kids action figure that does it.
Yeah, it's one of those, I bet it took about 10 minutes to write, because it's quite a forgiving, I don't know, iambic pentameter or whatever, but whatever the kind of whatever time signature it's in, it's very You can almost make up every line because you just go along. And as long as you finish with a rhyme, you can get away.
I'm just laughing because I'm like an English graduate, and I remember going to like when I was doing English at A level before I went to university.
Yeah.
Like I remembered like learning of iambic pentameter that it's the 10 syllables, but it's 5 stressed and 5 unstressed. So it's supposed to be like the interesting thing is people don't use it because it sounds stupid. But I'm loving it. Be like the owls are on their way. From Plymouth to Geordie land, kind of.
That's basically it. Yeah, there you go.
Maybe there's also a space for a Wednesday spoken word album as well.
Oh,
beautiful! I have so many ideas from this. Like, I'd love to just hear like some more like Wednesday songs.
Oh yeah, or like a mission, like the now disgraced and thoroughly cancelled Justin Lee Collins. He had a series of TV shows where he'd like put the A-Team back together or something like that. Something where you kind of like put this album back together, replace the missing tracks and things like that, and find out about the making of it would be rather fun, I think, as well as its own kind of documentary.
There we go. Let's fire up the Kickstarter, Rich. Embarrass ourselves when we raise like 20 quid or something.
Just us sat with musicians that don't want to be there going, and what do you remember about that album? There's a lot of drugs. I can't. I made this. This is me. Okay. It sounds like me.
I was there, was I? Yes, you were.
Yeah. I don't even like football, but okay. Yeah. Bills need paying.
So next up, we've got. So this is March for Wembley. Who is this by? Because I think my notes kind of cut out here. Do you have who this is by? Do you have the?
Sure, sorry.
Okay, well let's play it, and I can bring that up and then complete that a little bit. What was Sheffield Wednesday doing? They were marching for Wembley.
Francis for Wednesday. He's beaten off his marker. Francis, good skills from him. Out to Worthington on the left. Back inside to Warhurst. Warhurst brings it down, plays it out to the right. Chance for Waddle now on the edge of the box. Waddle still with it, left-footed. Waddle has scored for Wednesday. 8 minutes gone, and Chris Waddle shows his international class. Wednesday still have it with Worthington, and Worthington has scored for Sheffield Wednesday. 20 minutes into the second half. The opportunity for a moment. Here's Warhurst for Wednesday. Can he add a second? A lovely ball there to Bart Williams. On the edge of the box, Bart Williams, he should score! He has scored! Chris Bart Williams!
I just had to keep that going for it. The problem is I could just keep going for every single goal that comes in. There's something, so I don't know if it's still the same thing that we still have, but there is something still kind of very magical about, that world of... that world of radio commentary. And I don't know if it still has the same appeal anymore, which is a shame. But it's something that still has an effect on me. Like I remembered a time of things not being so readily available, but it felt like there was a real magic if somebody on a Wednesday message board would upload a WAV file of Leon Clark scoring as Leicester, for example. Yeah. It just has a real kind of weight to it. And I feel like very much nearly a time of my life when just being so kind of into football and being so taken with it that hearing those clips of commentators losing their shit over players scoring, I think that's probably something that's given in comparison with last week's episode where I, dragged Walt Porker over the coals. I still think about his commentary of Marcus Tugge's goal against Sheffield United, because he did give it the weight it deserved. I also remembered one time, I think it was probably about in the late noughties, I think it was to do with, it was a Wednesday goal of the season, like for a mitre goal of the season, and I think it was when Leon Clark and Marcus Tugge went and absolutely ripped Burnley apart 4-1 at their place.
Oh, yeah.
And the hilarity of this, and I wish I still had it saved somewhere or could find it, but they used the Burnley commentary for a really great goal scored by Leon Clark, and it was just so the most dour Lancashire man who'd had his piss chips well and truly just drowned in piss.
His piss chips had been drowned in piss.
Exactly. It was just like, do you want anything more on that? I was like, how about a gallon more of piss? That's what he basically said. And it was just so beautiful how understated and depressed this guy was. Exactly what was happening. And it was such a really great goal. But, I love that. And it's a classic, Grand March by Verdi from Ada, forgive me. Need we say more? Classic. It's a real classic. I remember once listening to the radio and it being like, we're playing this. And then it was just like the DJ coming on and being like, oh, and Wednesday has just scored again, by the way. And it happened twice in the space of that song while they were playing it on the radio. So very stirring, very memorable.
I don't know about the commentary being worse, but then I suppose that maybe that is a downside of the partisan, like John and Rob on the Wednesday commentary for Wednesday fans are going to go mad everything that Wednesday do, and it's going to be a foul every time the opposition scores, and so there's something a bit more special. Maybe that's a bad sentence, but there's something that's winning over or arousing a big, powerful reaction, emotion from a neutral or somebody that's trying to be neutral is it means more than somebody who is like screaming every time we score a tap in, screaming when we score a good goal. Do you know? Like, it's not a criticism really of John. I love John Pearson's. I love his enthusiasm, but it's like if your pants are on fire, where have you got to go? Like if you're a 10, if you're a 10 for something being bundled over the line, there's nowhere beyond a 10 to go when it's a 30-yard screamer or a really important goal. But I suppose the other thing is we just haven't had moments to celebrate lately in the same way, which is pretty depressing. I also it's got to be noted, I am a child, I appreciate this, but the commentator saying that Francis had beaten off his marker did make me chuckle, and it has made me chuckle every time I've heard the song. It's also, again, one of these where the music finishes about 30 seconds before the end, and it is just commentary at the end. It's like, well, we've got quite a bit of commentary. Stick it on, bang it in there. Bit of commentary, that's fine.
Okay, so coming into the final stretch here, so this is the Ottawan classic DISCO changed into DI Canio.
D-I-Canio. D-I-Canio. D-I-Canio.
He is Italiano.
Di Canio. Di-I-Canio.
And so forth. Fascinatingly and depressingly, the only song recorded by Docs Chocks and the Ice Cream Men. I'm curious how they came up with that name. So, a series of chocolates that are put out by a doctor. But then when I think of chalk and then I see ice cream men, I think of a chalk ice.
Yeah.
Tantalizingly, it mentions that it features Paolo Di Canio. But then the Paolo Di Canio part is really something that gave me some really blue balls, I'm going to say. I felt it
sort
was
of underwhelming spoken word section.
It was, yeah, because he doesn't sing on it. He doesn't do backing vocals. He doesn't have a vocal line. But I thought it was going to break down, and I thought it was going to do like it made me thought he was going to take off into a seagulls follow the trawler type moment. But he doesn't go there, and I said I think the track needs a dance breakdown and the Canio to do this impassioned Eric Cantona poetry / human traffic Milky Bars are on me blend in that moment. I think that's really what it needs. That guitar effect is fun, isn't it?
It is. The wah-wah. Did you feel shortchanged a little bit that they just go for the D and I?
What's the rest of it? Because I'm not familiar.
Well, I thought there was stuff for the whole of disco in the original, but apparently they only go as far as the S in the actual lyrics.
Right, but the fans
she is I, something, she is S, super sexy, but in this one they just go for he is D, dangerous, he is I, Italiano, Di Canio. And I thought they could have filled it out, he is D, dangerous, he is I, Italiano. He is S, slightly fascist. He is C, came from Celtic. He is O, often suspended.
He is O, ostracized by the club. He is O, off to West Ham.
Oh dear. Well, it's a fun tune, isn't it? It's undeniable.
It is. Well, because that is funded and founded by the chant of him. So that's why I wanted to ask about the did Wednesday fans do that? Did they go
I can
It was just it's just that repeatedly, isn't it? There's no other separate piece of this. And this is on here and it's been done, so it does count as a football song. It's one of the things that pissed me off about that Dave rundown, because they were going like, oh, DJ Otzi's Hey Baby, that's a football song, isn't it? I'm like, everything is a football song. Like, if that's the case, like there was no Blur's Tender or the Omar Bogle chant, as everyone knows it.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's a good one. But yeah.
Was Hey Jude on there?
No.
Well, weird.
Anyway,
but wasn't that like the official theme of some like a Euros or something?
No, because I think that was it was.
I'm sure that. Anyway. What was it called? DJ Otzi.
Yeah. Hey Baby by DJ Otzi.
DJ Otzi. Oh,
and that's not
what a guy.
That's not
what a guy.
That's not the Flat Eric guy, is it?
No.
No, that's someone else. Okay. Anyway, we could keep reminiscing about trying to find out some stuff, but what
we could talk about Hey Baby forevermore,
couldn't we? We could do a whole podcast of 88 episodes on Hey Baby.
Re-released as the unofficial theme song of the 2002 World Cup.
Rubbish.
Well, but anything could be the unofficial.
Jacob's Green Crackers.
Really unofficial.
Jacob's Green Crackers, the unofficial cracker of the Queen's birthday. Right, fair enough. If you want to say. Anyway. What would Terry Curran do about this? Why, you would do a Wednesday chant. the shortest clip of the episode is that.
Because you've heard the song now, folks. That is it.
It's tedious, it is lazy. I guess it's kind of there. Like, you could kind of do it like if you, I don't know, if you meditated the entire length of this album, then that would be like the alarm to kind of like wake you up and remind you to stop doing it.
I guess so.
Well, it more feels like an alarm that's reminding me it's time to get up.
Yeah. It'd be fun if it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. Like that'd be where I would go with this. If I was producing the album. Just like more instruments, more noise. The crowd noise gets up to like they're screaming by the end. Like just huge. And I'd be doing like big arm gestures in the studio with the 100-strong orchestra that's all like hitting their instruments at the same time.
You would just have like, instead of Frosties, you would just have like like you'd open up the box and it'd just be a whole plastic bag full of cocaine that you'd pour into a bowl.
Help yourself, boys. We're going big. We're going big.
No milk for me.
It's great. Oh dear.
Cocaine toast crunch. Yeah.
Have you heard the song Taco Night by Don't Stop or We'll Die?
No, I haven't.
It's really short, but like live it goes very big. But it does that thing of like it's just like piano and a man. Then it's like piano, drums, and a man. Then it's like a whole big band. But just like, yeah, I just love that idea of just escalating. Bigger. It's the only way to make that listenable, really.
Okay. So, there we go. That concludes the We Are the Owls compilation. Just to say thank you to the excellent people, our friends of the Wednesday podcast. Please support them and follow them and give them money and attention and time. If you haven't already, you probably do. Thank you for letting us go through this and review this. I'm going to try and find a copy of this on CD because I really need We Are the Owls in my life more often than not to comfort me through these times and to give me something to cry to. That isn't the last episode of Quantum Leap. Some episodes of Futurama, the first 10 minutes of Up, things along those lines. We can just add it to the list of things I use if I want a good old weep. So, Rich, one of the things I said, I think I may have said this to you, and I apologize if maybe this got lost, but what would you put as your top three? And if you need a bit of time to think, I can run down my own 3, 2, 1, my own.
You go first.
Okay, I've ravaged through this dusty bin for my 3, 2, 1, 4, 3, 2, 1. Number 3, I'm going to go for the Hillsborough Crew with Steel City. Just loved it. I thought it was magic. Great era, great people involved. And it's a lot of fun. And I think it's something I have to go back and keep listening to again and again and again, just to keep peeling back those layers. Number 2, I'm going for We Love Sheffield Wednesday, the B-side to We Are the Owls. Perfect. I will always hear them on my radio, the radio in my heart and my pants. And number 1 for me, you're probably not surprised, it's We Are the Owls. Just number 1 for Bullet. Just it's fantastic. It has big nostalgic weight to me. And yeah, what can I say? Just magic. Rich?
I think it's just a great song. Surprise, surprise, we share a number 1. I think in 3, I'm going to go for Oh Yes. I loved having a jig around, a bit of a rain. Obviously, the band, have sullied their name in recent years, but I think you've got to separate the artist and the art. And in this case, the art has me wanting to get that bucket hat on, get my whistle, do some Bez dance.
Well, I know you're a big fan of Michael Jackson, Rich, so I thought you'd come out with something like that.
I refuse to take this single glove off. That's my statement. And then Hillsborough Crew, Steel City, move on up in the middle there into brilliant. And the studs, clacking of studs to make up your percussion. I mean, come on,
right ahead of their time.
Come on,
really.
Give the other songs a chance, you know. It was great. This was so much fun. Thanks so much for taking the time to prepare it, Luke.
Thank you for taking part, and thank you for listening and engaging me on this madness during a little. It was let's be honest, lads, folks. It was an international break, but it wasn't a Funternational break, was it?
Oh.
I mean, you could have a break from the fun if you watch the international break, but I haven't done such a thing. So
everybody loved watching the San Marino goalkeeper. He was really good, apparently.
Really?
How 5 and was still man of the match.
How, as a Scotland fan, Rich, how was should I seek out the McGinn goal?
Oh, it was nice. It was nice.
It was nice. Okay, well, there we go. So that
was a good game, actually.
Oh, okay. Still some fun to be had during these times and during.
Yeah, definitely. I've got a bit of moan about the way they do international breaks now, but I'm going to just save it. I think.
Yeah, you can just lay on if you want. If you want to just.
It's just weird that they don't have matches at the weekend now. I suppose it gives non-league a chance to shine, but it's sort of strange from a championship and above perspective. We're not playing, and nobody else is playing.
But anyway, to come back, we are going to talk about. So the next episode we'll review the game on Good Friday.
We will.
Who have we got coming up on Good Friday?
Now you're asking. I thought you were leading off with that. You're so confident with the way you slipped into it. Luke.
I know. I just that persona of the top of the plops. So
top of the plops. We have Watford
away, and then we're playing on Easter Monday, aren't we as well?
We are.
Okay.
We're in the diff. Well, we're not in the diff. Are they the diff coming to us? They're coming from the diff.
They're coming from the diff.
Oh, well, it's been a treat. Thank you so much again, Luke. And thank you for people sharing their clips with us and for being wonderful folks in general. And have a good week and cheerio.
See you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Wow.